back to New York. Went to school in Brooklyn and started teaching
Brooklyn.
in Brooklyn. BK all day.
All day.
Spread love.
All day.
Yeah. So
That's dope because the reason I'm saying that is, I have background. Shout out to all my young people, man. I love y'all.
yes, we love you guys. We love you.
I think you and I both agree. I like chilling with young people, more than other folks.
Yeah, me too. I would say probably with the kids over.
Yeah, I'll take the Lil Duns.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
day, all day.
What is your message for the young people? The journey of knowing thyself begins in the cradle and ends in the grave. One way to capture those moments of ourself can be found in the shelf. Shelves have been around since the creation of ancient scrolls. My name is Dr. Walter Hidalgo, and I'm a father, teacher, world traveler, and coach. Join me as we explore together the stories of our shelves. This is Know Thyself.
Watch this.
Peace, 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 beautiful family. This is Dr. Walter Hidalgo, and this is the Know Thyself podcast. The Know Thyself podcast utilizes the metaphor of the shelf to extrapolate the self. And the way we do that is we invite guests to come and share something that comes out of their shelves. And before I introduce my guests, I want to say this is episode number 30. That's dope. We got that divine number in it. You know what I'm saying?
We talked about threes.
Yeah, that's why, because we got the goddess in the building, so it's very important that we align the numbers, and we're here. And I want to give a big shout out to all the teachers, poets, and MCs, because I do have a special guest with me, and that is Cassandra the Goddess MC.
Hey, what's good?
What's
Dr.
good,
Wall?
Queen?
So nice to see you, be in your presence again. And I know you've seen me on this journey through all the things you just mentioned, but definitely sending love to other teachers, MCs, and poets during this time. We're the people that got to keep movement going, and try to keep a vision for everybody in some sense.
Yeah, keep the culture going.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And keep the babies well.
Oh, we do it for the little ones, right?
Yes.
So, I met you a few years back doing something similar, interviewing you, right? So, what I always do is try to put things into context.
Okay.
I know we typically ask people to share something at the end, but I know there's a connection to what you're bringing to share from your shelf to help us get to know you a little bit better. So what you bring to the table? Yo?
Right, I did give you a hint that it's kind of like a nice entry into hip hop of my world as well as where I'm from, and I know you kind of asked me that, and I was like, hold on, let's hold this. So don't let the case fool you. It's just very top secret.
What you got?
So I don't know if you want me to tell you what it is first, or if you want to look at it. So
this is lit. It reads Prodigy Free P.
Okay, so this is a postcard that I actually had sent to P while he was locked up, and he wrote back but there's a whole story behind that. Obviously, shout out to Mobb Deep Havoc, rest in peace, Prodigy, love forever.
To the God,
and some great lyricists, and originally I'm from Hempstead, LI, and Uniondale area.
Shout out to Long Island, Strong Island.
And those guys did some little time out there as well, and I remember always being a huge fan. My brother's friends early, like 10, 11, 12, used to call me like Lil Duns. And because I would just be a girl that could spit Mobb Deep lyrics verbatim, no problem. And so that was kind of my first little nickname alias. And I kind of used that up until later on when I switched to Goddess. I kind of used that name for a while. But the thing that really solidified me using that name is I don't want to say the year, but I know at one point Alchemist made a post on like a MySpace or something, and basically saying like, you know, P is locked up and he's not getting taken care of well because of sickle cell and stuff, and his medical needs. And, you know, he could use your support, and, you know, please write. And I remember, I want to say I was like 19, 20, something like that. And I remember thinking, and someone told me like, Cassandra, you should really tell him how much he means to you, because, you know, a lot of what I do, have it tatted on my side, is like I do things for the Lil Duns, like that bar from a little girl. Like, you know, do things for the kids, the Lil Duns, build a playground. Like, you know, that's all I'm trying to do, even if it's like a playground in their mind, you know what I mean? And so, like, so they were like, yo, Cassandra, you gotta write P. Sometimes he writes back. So I got, you know, the number to send a letter to P. I wrote him like a 4-page letter. It might have been like 8 pages. I think I had bars in there, like maybe like a photo or two, but nothing, you know, I was real hip hop, real like just saying like, this is who I am, much love, respect. You told him about my family, told him about what I was doing and why like I do things for the kids and want to work with youth, and I sent that postcard pre-addressed, and he wrote back, and I don't think he wrote back to a lot of people, but I don't know if I want to read the letter, or like I just like, he basically said like, peace, Lil Dun, you know. And so for Prodigy to tell me, you know, Lil Dun, and, you know, ask me how I'm doing and all that was real love. And then he actually said like, yo, send more of these postcards, these are ill, like send more of these postcards back, I want to send them to my people, I'm working on films and books and stuff like that. And he was telling me about it, and I actually ran into him at SOBs after he got out, and like I don't know if he really made the connection to who I was. It was dope though. I just said peace, I'm glad to see you or whatever. But yeah, that was a crazy encounter. And then later on in life, I got to share some music with Havoc, who's just an amazing producer and talent. And he,
shout out to Havoc.
Yeah, for sure. And he gave me like some dope kudos as well, just separate from this. Just later on, and I told him where I was from, the streets, you know, Webster Ave in LI in Hempstead, Uniondale area, and he was like, yo, we was a few blocks from you and stuff. So just kind of like the full circleness of it, and him just saying like, yo, keep going, you nice and all that. Like, to get the nods from those two, being originally from Hempstead, is like, yeah, that was really a full circle moment. So when you ask me like, we like, you know, talk about where I'm from, I'm like, this is the, you know, a nice nucleus to segue into that. And you know, my original alias, Lil Dun. Anyone who you ever hear call me Dun or Dunny, that means they knew me like before any of this like recording artist stuff. When I was still rapping, you know, more like battles, street corners, like little competitions, little local stuff. But Lil Dunny.
Yeah. So you go by the name Cassandra the Goddess MC, right? Goddess MC.
That's the full name. You know, we gonna chop it down and be real Ghostface with it. We gonna flip it up, you know,
well, what
different
does
ways.
it mean to be a goddess?
Okay, so there's a lot of people I'm around that I consider gods and goddesses, you know what I mean? And I think there's a couple ways you can look at it. I could bring it back to my name too, but at first, just a general way in where I talk to the students is it's like, you know, your own mythological man or myth, woman or myth self, kind of this tapping into kind of this higher divine, you know, sacred side of you, whether it be through music or art or through your family or what you do or what you give back to the community. Like, there's people that I call God based off their knowledge, you know, just like what they bring, the gems they bring, you know. So in that sense, in the general sense, you know, I think it's just someone really trying to tap into that superhero of themselves and you know, their spiritual side, and make that kind of what could be considered a myth of themselves kind of true, make it a reality, you know, walk that way. Right. In my case, like, you know, I like that term can be used for so many reasons. If you want to get into like my alias, you know, Cassandra the Goddess, Greek mythology, literature. Right. So that's who my mom named me after. I don't know if she read the whole story, because if you know, like, the end of the story is a little tragic, but like she could predict the future. She saw that the Greeks was in the Trojan horse and like tried to tell her father, like, you know, they come and no one believes her, she's crazy. So she had this, she's like a semi-goddess and had the ability to prophesize and stuff. So there's that. And then like got a lot of my knowledge base and teaching from like the God bodies, you know,
shout out to the Fives.
Yeah, the Fives always like held me down with things to read like throughout all, you know, from teen years to now. Like, that's definitely where I get a lot of my wisdom from or teachings from. So I have a lot of dialogues with cats that come from that foundation, and so it helps build my mind as well. And then, like, you know, just thinking of like the God and Goddess MCs, the OGs, the original goddesses before me that taught me how to do it. It's just trying to let you know I'm coming on a different plane. Obviously, you know, Rakim with the God, but just a little bit of all of that. And you know, I feel I'm surrounded by gods, and yeah, there's gods on earth, and I also joke or mess with that. You know, much respect to the earth, but like right now, a goddess feels like she got to float and like kind of float like a god. So that's something I touch on a little bit on my next album, like the fine line of that.
Right.
Yeah, because it comes into play. But I think it was just a way for me to how it came about. I was using Lil Duns in Queens recording, and someone was like, "Yo, I understand where this name comes from. I get it, but you gotta switch your name up." Like I think they just felt like unless I'm coming out with, you know, a fully produced by Havoc album or something, like I gotta switch my name up, and so. Which would be amazing, but I gotta switch it up. So I said something on this joint where I was like, Cassandra Goddess, something. I don't know what I said, and he was like, "Yo, that's hot." And then like that's really my name, you know. It made sense. It clicked, and since then I've rocked with it, and I've been featured on tracks as Cassandra the Goddess MC or Cassandra the Goddess. So you gotta look at it. Well, you know, MC can get dropped now because when I'm on that Styles P album, you don't need to know who Cassandra. You know, Cassandra the Goddess is bringing bars. I hope you don't think I'm saying. Like when I'm on AG and BITC's album and you see Cassandra the Goddess, I don't think I need to say the MC because I'm on these ill records or wax with like real MCs. So that's where the case is that it's dropped often.
So we broke down the goddess.
Yeah, sure.
What's the MC? Because you're an MC. What's
well,
an MC?
Okay. So I like that you're making me wear my teacher hat and my MC hat. You're fusing them together. Yeah. So it's like I know you know, but you want me to. You know, and I talk to students about this too. And like MC, master of ceremonies, mic controller, and you know, I just think about
move the crowd,
all that, and I just think about the difference between like an MC is a craftsman. It's someone who really values the elements of hip hop, the essences of hip hop, the foundations. Someone who really values lyrics and you know the different skills it takes, flow, all the things that becomes being like a great MC. And yeah, I guess I was just just affirm that like this is what I'm doing. Like you're not gonna hear these type of, you know, more trendy pop rap records from me, especially at the start. Like I want you to understand what cloth I'm coming from because I got, you know, head nods from the gods, so therefore I feel I can be the goddess.
and you mentioned students. You're a teacher, right? Mm-hmm. How does being a teacher inform being an MC? How do those
and
two
vice versa,
work?
Right? Yeah. So you know, sometimes people could talk about being on stage or why I'm not doing enough live. It's like you guys don't realize I was on stage from 9 to 3 most days as a teacher. So. And I'm with the most crucial audience in my mind. You know, I'm with people that are definitely, you know, high school students, New York City. I'm in the BX. Shout out to the X. And I'm in the BX, and like, you know, you gotta keep it real with them. They're gonna keep it real with you, and like you can't come fake or fraudulent. Just like as an MC on stage, especially if you're trying to claim you from that cloth, you can't come on stage and not turn on or be before someone and not do that, show that skill. So I think what's cool is we put each other on to music. We build about things we're seeing in pop culture and in the news. You know, if there's a topic that happens and they're like, Miss, I have this song, they'll share it with me and vice versa. And they know like I'm a teacher that will, I'm sure a lot of teachers will do that, but they know I'm a teacher that will do that. I share, what was really cool is because this graduation this past semester was a mess with Corona and everything. Those kids just had a different experience. I actually got Jada Kids did a dope drop for the kids.
Shout out to the guy Jada.
Yeah, for sure. Top 5. Yeah, the Locks. They just dropping an album too around this time.
And they got the Rough Riders Chronicles too.
Yeah, and that's been on BET too. Yeah, if you haven't caught it by now, you definitely gotta catch that. Yeah, it's so dope to see how the longevity in the game is still rocking. But gave a shout out to the kids, kind of saluting them, you know, giving them some gems, words of wisdom. So like little things like that we're trying to do to I always try to fuse, you know, my hip hop fam and my school fam in any way I can. Always try to bring the kids together. I remember one of my first videos, shout out to Street Heat TV for filming it. I brought Roxanne Shantae to my school, had her set up in the principal office. Like, you know, one of my first videos though, so I can even imagine like, oh man, if I could have done, you know, but you always, as an artist, you critical. But I share a lot of my music with my students, the ones that are interested. It's funny when I hear their parents say they like my music at a parent-teacher conference. We'll go through the whole parent-teacher conference. Halfway through, this kid will be like, Mom, no, Dad, that's her. That's the teacher that raps. They're like, oh, I like your music. Or a father will quote a song, and it'll be like the one song where I'm talking about a dude. I'm like, oh, wow, is that the song that Dad knows? But yeah, so it's really cool. I've had students in my videos.
That's dope. You're integrating your
all the
students.
time. They put me on to so much. We share so much. You know,
I
love it.
You mentioned COVID. How were you during this experience as a goddess? You know, how does a goddess hold down COVID? That's been a conversation.
You know, I miss the movement that I was able to have before. It was a blessing. So anyone whose different movements have stopped, I can relate. Thank God I personally didn't lose anyone. Someone did fall ill during that time, but I don't know if it was due to corona. Someone that's like a second father, a family member to me, but I didn't experience anything. Just boosted my immune system and the people around me, trying to talk, you know, health, and just keep each other like aware of what's going on, what we're reading and everything. And I thank you for asking, just for me, just trying to keep peace of mind. And it's hard because I guess I started to say it's hard that I wasn't able to like move around with the students at the end of the year, or, you know, do certain things in the lab or on stage that I would have wanted to do this summer. But I know I'm blessed to like be here and be able to redirect and adapt. So,
and I know as an MC and as someone who has a background in English, right? I'm sure you were doing a lot of writing, a lot of penmanship,
of course, yeah.
because that's a form of therapy.
No,
right?
I guess I don't think about that because it's kind of like it's part of my routine. That would be like saying, like, you know, like I ate during COVID in a sense, but whether or not the cycle of turnaround would be the same. Like, you know, for me, especially if I'm trying to wrap up an album, which I am right now, I get like 3 songs maybe in my head, maybe one's a freestyle, 2 for the album, and I just want to like, it's like a release. I want to get them out, and like I'm writing bars, but I'm really like pregnant with those tracks, so to speak. So it's hard for me to like, I can form little pieces of other songs, but I want to, and because the turnaround with COVID and Corona, again, not complaining, it's just been a different pace and schedule of like how fast I can let out these bars and I'm penning in the time I'm locked in. I mean, not really with all the like Zoom chats and stuff for work and everything, but I love being able to build with the kids, but I guess I'm trying to say it's not the same as being in the lab, in the classroom.
Correct, the dynamics have changed. I'm sure you had like Zoom out moments or like, yo, I can't even.
No, the kids are doing it before. Well, you know, again, I teach high school, so the kids are kind of like, miss, nah, not today. Or like, I had one student, we did an activity after school. One student came, literally was like, oh, miss, like she didn't put her camera on, we could hear her though. Oh, miss, I just came to see that you and Miss So-and-so was good. Y'all look good. Okay, y'all good. All right, I see you. Like, literally said she came to the activity to check on make sure me and the other teacher were good. All right, you good? Okay, I see. She didn't even say hi visually. It was so funny. I'm like, no one's in this activity but me and the other teacher, and the one student that came by literally came to check on us. Like, these kids are strong in the BX.
Guys, what makes a good teacher? What are the good characteristics of a good teacher?
I know in the past we talked about this. I definitely think connection and communication is key. How you decide to meet the students. Something that I learned a while back is a phrase, walk into a room authentic, so you invite others to be their authentic selves as well. Amen. So like, you know, I think that's something that I do well, no matter the crowd, especially with youth. It's hard not to be, and you have to be real. And I was gonna say that, I guess, and someone that I like, Fieri, who talks about, you might want to pronounce it better than me, the pedagogy of the oppressed.
Oh, the God, Paulo Freire.
Yeah, the God.
Excellent
He's the God.
Book.
Nah, like all teachers, like especially if you're teaching maybe students from a different community or background than yourself, even more so. It's just a great theological way, I guess, or theory that is just universally applied, and it was written so long ago, and it still applies now. And I think with what he was saying with that is like, you can't try to make your students come to you. You got to meet your students where they are and walk with them and understand where they're coming from and really like bridge together. Let them tell you kind of what's needed. And luckily for me, I teach literacy, English, so there's a lot of flexibility with text, and it's more about thinking skills and reading and writing skills. So I don't feel as bogged down by like someone else's content, someone else's history. But
that's great, because, and I'm glad he mentioned Paolo, because what he was talking about was way before these concepts of like the unschooling or community schooling, and whether you like it or not, we've been kind of put in a position by we as educators to really shift gears, considering the fact that this pandemic hit us and we've had to really like pivot and approach things differently, using technology, being creative, etc. The dynamics of education is now really changing. What direction do you see it's going? What's the preferred? I mean, we know as artists and MCs, it's important to have that cultural, artistic element, the social sciences, because now,
getting even more lost.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And now, like, I think it was you that told me that you bugged me out, that the students weren't able to take the standardized test this year.
Oh,
so that's going to shift the game.
I have a feeling that it's be like almost, how can you go back to giving, if you're in New York State, you know about Regents exams, like how can you go back to giving Regents exam, and this is just a shooting in the dark here, I'm no one in that sense. How can you go back to Regents exams if kids are in this new form of learning where it really needs to be more skill-based, even in the subjects that might have been somewhat of a memorization of content to deposit and withdraw, which we know isn't necessarily the best learning, but for this Regents exam. But yeah, the kids, I have to say some of those exams are not built fair, and some of those students would have had some trickery trying to pass those on time. So I was glad to see some kids were able to move on without like some type of math or later history exam kind of harming them in their graduation pass. So they got rid of those completely. How could they ask the kids? It's hot behind these lights. How could they?
She can't handle the heat.
No, I can handle the heat. It's just the hair. No, but yeah, it was. That was I guess a small positive. I mean, we still want to demand high expectations and standards to like get kids, if they're interested in college, to go where they need to go, but. The adaptability has been crazy.
Super facts, and I'll be honest. I've been a big critique of standardized examination across the board. Anyways, how can we speak on the concepts of multiple intelligences and the idea that now, with the shifting of our world, you know, our kids. I mean, I'm a father, and my daughter. Yo, she be saying stuff, I'm like, yo, you are on another level. That generation right there is on another level. Because what we're seeing is a continuing evolution of consciousness. You know what I'm saying? Living in the age of information, the way they regurgitate. Because Paolo Freire, one of the things that he talked about was, you know, breaking the traditional banking system.
Right, that's why I hinted at before, giving withdrawal.
Right, you go into a bank, right, you submit your check, your money, whatever it is, and then you get something back. Like, if you want money back, or you put your check in and you want money.
Oh, that Regents exam, I want that information I deposited in you for you to memorize for that Regents exam. I need you to give it to me in June, and you've learned.
Because what happens is, is like, it's true what they say, like many of the most successful people, however you define that, school was important, but they kind of like surpassed that because they internalized the fact that I have these gifts. I wanna find a way how I can integrate joy and my career and my purpose in life versus that 9 to 5. Like even the 9 to 5 concept now is being challenged given the pandemic situation. Even with schooling, right? We were so used to the 8 to 2 situation. Now it's like
I know for my school in the Bronx, and every school in the or New York City is going to be different, I'm sure. But I know like we're doing we're very organized. I know we're doing like a blended learning model. The students that have opted out of coming to school at all during this time, you know, they will have, you know, a Monday through Friday online routine, I think, involving live teaching. I think they're going to be more strict with the scheduling. I can definitely come back and tell you about how that looks, but I think they're going to be more strict universally with the DOE, that kids have like a better time schedule, because it was crazy last semester. I love my students. I'll do it however my hours can be off too, but you know, they're turning in stuff late at night because their body clock got off one night from staying up late on a Saturday, and then it was hard to get back in the routine. And if they're not showing up to the building, a lot of kids aren't clocking in till noon, 4 p.m. And our day, we're supposed to sign in at right on time and 8 a.m. and then we're supposed to work till a certain time, but most of the time I was working after hours, which is a teacher's job, but even more so just because of so I think they're going to be more regimented with the time schedule. I know we're having students coming in groups, 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th and like 2 days a week. So I'm going to do some live teaching, I believe, so that's cool. Yeah.
You're emceeing, you're a teacher, you work with young people a lot too. You have an extensive background working with young people, correct?
Well, I definitely, I was trying to avoid teaching, I think. I knew I wanted to give back as a teenager to teenagers, but I think I went to college like I'm going to write this book and help people and do get on my, I think like Sonia Sanchez, like all traveling all over and whatever. I don't know what. And like I was like, people aren't reading.
Yo, shout out to Sonia Sanchez.
I don't know where that came from, but I saw her when I was during my AmeriCorps. That's where that came from. So,
shout out to AmeriCorps.
So I think that's what you were trying to get at too. So prior to teaching, I worked with a youth commission and kind of ran it in Berkshire, Massachusetts, AmeriCorps, and incorporated my hip hop and my youth connection and leadership. It's one for social justice. Did like a dope event out there with kids. Really cool. That was a great experience, but it's like volunteer work, so it wasn't really making any money. And then just wanted to get back to the East Coast from being in the Midwest for college.
Yeah.
So so I was working with kids in that capacity, nonprofit capacity. Then I even worked at an intensive treatment unit before I got back to New York and started teaching, kids who are medicated and get sent, and the state pays for them to leave New York to go to this treatment facility in Massachusetts. And I realized that wow, nonprofit is really hard. It's hard to not even for my own funding, just to get the kids to come and really get these events to happen the way you want. And then I was like, this more institutionalized situation, I just felt the kids weren't getting the treatment that I would think, a more holistic or just constant, building with someone who's, inclined to do that kind of psychotherapy or whatever may be needed. So that was rough. And then I remember wow, I guess I'm gonna have to be a teacher. As an English major, it's are you teaching? What are you doing? And I was like, no, I'm writing. And no, I went back to teaching. So then came back to New York, went to school in Brooklyn, and started teaching in Brooklyn. BK all day. Spread love.
All day.
So
that's dope because the reason I'm saying that is, I have background. Shout out to all my young people, man. I love y'all.
Yes, we love you guys. We love you.
I think you and I both agree. I like chilling with young people, more than other folks.
Yeah, me too. I would say probably with the kids.
Yeah, I'll take the Lil Duns. You know what I mean?
All day.
What is your message for the young people?
Despite how things can be at a still, it's good to be still sometimes. But just keep growing. If you're not growing, you're going the other way. So you need to keep growing and keep living. Try to hold on to that vision, whatever that thing was that you were finding your passion to be. Try to hold on to that. Try to continue to find knowledge of self.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I guess I had a lot of students who shared, I don't know if they're always asked questions, but what would you be willing to fight for? Think about what that fight is, that passion, because even when times are ups and downs, money's rough, pandemics or not, if that's that thing that you're really passionate about and will kind of fight for and stand for, that will, that'll surpass all these other things that are gonna, by nature, happen. We have to, just try to keep that vision for self, because I can imagine it's so hard. You're at the brink of, entering that next phase of life as a young person, or that next school or whatever it may be, training, and then things have to change and adapt.
Yeah, I said to you, it's going to be interesting to see what on a sociological level, what the impact, the ripple effects that this is going to have for the families, for the young people having gone through this situation.
The connection is getting cut off. The connection is getting cut off. It's interesting, as much as we're connected, internet, every reel, camera, whatever, can show everything that I'm doing, everything I ate that day, there's a disconnect of, human contact with this. We could be getting more in our bubbles than maybe some kids already were, some people already were. So that, I'm always concerned about the students that, you don't know, or the youth that we don't know what's going on at home during this time, and just want you to keep your head up and don't be afraid to, ask out or shout out or, talk to someone that you trust, because, it could be rough on families during this time, and
And I've said to you, because I have to ask, that I feel working with young people is a special calling. It takes a special person to do that. Where's this come from? Where's this sense of service and motivation coming from?
Yeah, like I think when I was a little done, I needed an auntie or someone to, talk to me a certain way or see me before maybe I always saw myself and I have had great teachers who just were like, you should keep writing, or like, this is really great, or you have this gift, or why don't you put this poem to a beat, or like just different influences through writing. And I just always thought like, okay, what is my revolution and change I feel, and like destroy and rebuild I feel is with the youth, the heartbeat anyway, or the fight. And I'm just like, what's the best way that I can connect you? Not even like reach youth as if I have a slogan to pass down permanently always. More just like, what's the way I can connect to youth, see what's going on, and maybe share any gems that I have in the most capacity. And like I said, nonprofit and private, I felt weren't allowing me to see enough kids. But as a teacher, I see a certain number of kids, over 100 kids, 180 days, like whether they want it or not. No, it's always love. We're in this classroom when this door shuts, and I do have some more freedom as an English teacher. Like we could read probing texts and have the probing discussions about topics that are of their interest. And oftentimes, I've changed content or where I was going based on something that a student said. So. Yeah, I guess it just came from me wanting to give back to the Lil Duns like I knew I needed. Like I didn't want the stuff, I hate to talk like this, but I didn't want the stuff I went through to be in vain, you know what I mean? Exactly. And everyone's been through grinds and struggles, but I had to make it a purpose. Otherwise I might have like wallowed in it differently. So early on I was like, nah, like these things I discovered as a teenager, like I'm gonna use this to give back to other teenagers. And like adults are
that's
kids are cool,
but we need exactly.
The movements with the youth.
Yeah. So speaking of youth, a lot of young people continue to protest out in the streets. We've been seeing a lot of that happening to Black Lives Matter and the ongoing, as I always say, the guns come out summertime, and that's very criminology right there. Statistics show that when the weather gets warmer, the guns come out.
Someone said it, Joe or Jay said like, cats get ignorant in the heat.
Yeah, but it's in this particular case it's more
that was
like we're thinking.
Was a rap reference.
Yeah. But in this case, what are your thoughts on what's been happening? With the protests and Black Lives Matter, with the killing on unarmed, I hate these terms, black men, people of color. As someone that is again, hate these terms, mixed race. Right? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so for me, I feel like I've always seen the system that I came up in early on. Like I was highly aware of the way that this country kind of ignored and didn't tell the true stories of how America was built, from indigenous people to black people in America. So for me, knowing that an uprising, if that's what you want to call it, or a revolution or a demand for justice, like I always felt that social injustice was relevant by the fact that the same systems that thought people were less than human is still in place currently. Like there is no completely redesign of the structure. There was no form of like, I don't know, apology, or it just seemed like it was brushed over for so long, and then it's seeping through the pores of people in society who lack even more like less knowledge, in the sense like police officers outside of the community and stuff like that. And that's where these horrible things happen. I went to a march, I believe, Until Freedom, I think, was a part of the organization, and Warriors in the Garden, that are people that I saw were running this. Yep. And it was really powerful to see all these people from all these different corners of Manhattan gather. We went to Washington Square Park to pause for a second, and then these people came over the Brooklyn Bridge, and we all gathered, like just a huge group, and we just stopped in different spots, Bryant Park, and people spoke, and people that were walking down the street, like you had to be a part of it, because this was the movement of the city and the street at the moment. So either you gotta get out fast, or like people that were just eating their lunch on Bryant Park, like, no, you're a part of this memorial that we're gonna talk about for these people that were unjustly killed. And like, I mean, there's no justification for killing, but I guess like it's been happening for so long in this country to people of color, like, and these police units or institutions really need to be like culturally competent. They need to be revamped, and I don't. And so, like, to me, this is just a response to all of that. And if there's a, we wouldn't talk about it on air, but if there's an agency I can join to be a part of, like, the righteous movement, or if it does need to come to guns in the summertime, whatever that may look like if there's organizations that form in that way that I could be a part of or lend a hand or a voice or ear, I definitely will. As far as you asked about, lastly, you asked about BLM, and I think, like, Black Lives Matter, obviously the country probably didn't act like they ever mattered, but I do think that I don't know about the politics of the organization. I like the sentence is what I was trying to say. Is, you know, I think the sentence is dope, the slogan is necessary, obvious, duh, hello, like, wake up, people. But humans, like, it's just crazy. But in this country, disproportionately, like, Black people, people of color. But it's like, I definitely think I don't know about, like, organizations where they get money from, who's running stuff like that. I try not to let that flaw the message. So message-wise, that's where I'm at. But you know, I don't know how I support what's right, you know, righteous, and, you know, people that speak to that. Like, more power to them. All the organizers and people that were around the thing I was involved in, and even to this day, the people that I know are from New York going down south and fighting, getting locked up for this, and I'm really trying to just show this is not going to go away. This has to stop. Like. I can keep going. I just don't know how it's going to be revamped. I don't like. It really means to destroy and rebuild. Like 8 is another number that I like a lot. Destroy and rebuild. I think that's the only way it's going to work. It's got to change.
Goddess, where can people find you, and what projects you're working on right now?
Oh, okay, dope. Yeah. So Cassandra the Goddess MC, Girl by Door project out right now. Some dope singles on there. She's a Goddess. My YouTube channel, Cassandra the Goddess. Instagram, Cassandra Goddess MC. You could check me out on Styles P latest solo album, or it might be the one before the one that's about to come out. Ghost Your Enthusiasm. I did a dope joint called Backpack Rap. I got to say, Backpack Rap and D Block Beat in 2020. Who would have known? That was amazing. Who gets to say Backpack Rap and D Block in 2020? That was amazing for me. So I did that. And I'm gonna be coming out on Opio from Hieroglyphics and Souls of Mischief solo album. I got an ill feat. I can't wait. His verse, it's really cutting. And it's real relevant to what's going on too. And then I have a project. Last thing, I got a project coming out with Days of the Machine, Breakbeat Lou, and Nice Rec. Really super talent legends. If you look into those names or follow them on IG, they're legends right now in their time. And we're putting together a project. Should be out hopefully in the next month or so, wrapping up final songs, final features and stuff, but real excited. It's been a minute to have my kind of curated project, so I'm really excited for that.
You took a little hiatus, you relaxed, you know what I mean?
Did some mixtapey stuff, got the soul right, did some stuff like that, and I also was trying to solidify myself in what my next direction was, production-wise and sound-wise and stuff. And so I think we got a cool mix, something different coming. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Definitely look out for that stuff for sure. Thank you.
Goddess, I'm very proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so proud of you. Yeah, I don't think we say that enough to our people, you know. And as a woman, as a goddess, as a teacher, I commend you, and I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And you've really seen some journey, so
yeah, no doubt.
It means a lot. It means a lot.
So, as we always do, we close with a quote in the Know Thyself podcast, and this one comes from Kavita Ramdas. Forgive me if I mispronounce it, and it reads as such: "We need women so strong they can be gentle, so educated they can be humble, so fierce, they can be compassionate. So passionate, they can be rational. And so disciplined, that they can be free."
That's dope. Ooh, when I get that quote at the end of my episode,
yes, sir.
That's dope. That's blessings.
Shout out to the goddesses.
Peace. And the guys. Later.
And the guys.
Hey, sweat.
Goddess. Yo, Daisy, man, turn that shit on, man. What up? Psycho Les, what up? Something for the spitters. G-Host, what up? Chris Rivers, what up? D-Block, Goddess MC, what up? Snipe life, you heard?